Welcome to Business Agility Now, the podcast powered by Scaled Agile. I'm your host, Adam Mattis. This is the place to get advice, stories, and perspectives to help you work differently and build the future. Thanks for listening and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Welcome back to Business Agility Now, powered by Scaled Agile. I'm hanging out today with old friends and new friends alike. I first met Sukie many Christmases ago in London. And I had the pleasure of meeting Jeroen this last Christmas, actually. 5 years after I met you, Sukie. Interesting. So, Jeroen, do you want to start first and kind of tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're up to?
My name is Jeroen Elzinger. I'm the CEO of Connected Movement. With Connected Movement, we try to connect everybody together. And why is that? Because, like when I was in Holland, I was born in Friesland, where everybody was talking Frisian and I was talking Dutch. Then I went to school. At school, I needed to write in Dutch, but I'm dyslexic, so I needed a little bit help. So I got all kinds of people around me from when I was young to do my job. When I went to ING to work there as a program manager for the SEPA programs, I did the same, trying to find people around me to make this happen. Because by myself, I couldn't do that. Then we rolled into this skilled agile way of working thing. I didn't know at first, but it looked like scouting, where I was from the Boy Scouting, so that was really funny. I was just doing Boy Scouting with adults, and then they told me that I was doing Agile. Then I read about it, then I get into this SAFE thing, because it's a big organization, and SAFE works better with multiple teams than Scrum does, because that's one team. So that was really nice, and all of a sudden, you see that in different companies, they have the same problems, but you're bound to ING. So I was like, yeah, I can do it somewhere else. So let's do it at other companies. And then my friends from ING also came with me to those other companies. And this is a little bit like how the train went from company to company. And that is how we built it up, Connected Movement. And we're still doing the same now, not then with individuals, but with companies. Together we did the last implementing SAFE with Keegan. Germany, so that we put Germans and Dutch who both can understand English together. And that's also when we needed an SPCT. And the language in Holland and the rest of the world, if you want to connect with multiple languages, is English. So super.
You went to the UK and got yourself an expert English speaker.
Yeah.
So, Jeroen, how long ago did you start Connected Movement? How over what time frame does this story take place?
2017, we started really as a network working together. I think around 2018, 19, we had some problems with, if you mess up, then I'm the one taken personally. So my lawyer said, it's better to create a company. So then at the end of the year, we created a company, Connected Learning. Now we are a little bit bigger internationally, and we try to get European tenders. And then Connected Learning is not handy, because we're not only doing learning consultancy, we're doing also consultancy. So that's why we went to Connected Movement. And Connected Movement is then really consultancy, training, but also hiring and the data sharing, as we say in Dutch.
How big is the company now? How many people do you have?
We have around the globe 286 people that working together, from which there are 86 that are gold members, working solely for us. And we have about 8 people now that are on the payroll. So
that's great. It's a big network, but you've diversified the risk.
Yes, exactly.
Well, Sukie, what about you? I know I know your before story, everything up till 2019. How did you find yourself at Connected? I mean, maybe talk about your history in the community and how you found your way here.
Yeah. So as you said, I became an SPCT in 2020, start of 2020. And the work, then we had COVID as well, and that was a very interesting time. We started to just move everything virtual PI plannings. We learned a lot from that in the new world we found ourselves. And what I really enjoyed is just the diversity of the work, working with clients in automotive, in medical devices, retail, insurance, hardware, software, MRI, just fantastic, just helping to solve customers' problems. It's just been brilliant, just working with so many fantastic clients and, working with lots of colleagues as well and learning loads all the time as well from the people that I surround myself with.
That's great. So let's talk about that growth a little bit. So Jeroen, you mentioned that there's 200 and 250 or 280 people in the community?
268.
268. I was close.
Yeah.
And then there's 8 FTEs, which means you focus a lot on partnership,
Yeah.
right? So let's talk about why that's important, right? So as you've built your business, you've made a very deliberate decision to rely on partnership with others.
Yeah.
What drove you down that path?
You can't do it alone. So you need to get as many as partners all together. So if we put all the partners together on an assignment, then we have the multiple visions, we have the multiple cultures. So we can always be flexible in that way. Also, we maybe don't have all the skills just by ourselves that we want to do towards the tender. I mean, we're focusing on safe and agile and those kind of things. If there is for the tender also needs for technology, maybe a COBOL, that they have an old system still that needs to be supported, then you cannot do it by yourself. We need to find a technology partner. So that's a little bit how we try and do it. Yeah, and the deliberate decision to work with partners is also to spread the risk. Because if you need to do everything for your client, that's nice that you keep it in a small team, but then you're also, blindfolded, also only looking one way. So is it the most optimal decision within the, I think the safe principles? We also have preserve options. So if we have multiple people, then we preserve the options that maybe your thinking is wrong and that we can move another way. So live the principles also in your company. That's actually what I'm saying.
So you work with obviously consultancy partners as well. So what's the value that you see in having a partnership with a company like Scaled Agile, or there's a lot of other good partner programs out there too, like Atlassian's got a strong one, ServiceNow and some others. So what is it about those relationships that you find especially valuable?
If you talk about Scaled Agile at Atlassian, those are global companies. So say, for instance, our client is in Ethiopia or a client is in Singapore, what started last time. Yeah, we don't have any people there. My network is maybe also a little bit not grown that way yet. If it would be in America, then it's easy to call Scaled Agile, and then you know that they will have. But they're also busy with transformations and supporting partners that are there. Maybe the partners I don't have in my network yet, but in our greater network with Scaled Agile, we can find them. So there was one call to, I think it was you also, and Anila, our partner manager, and we got the Ole Granderson to help us because he was busy in Singapore and he's the Scaled Agile strategic advisor. So that helped us out. We could do all the trainings, and we are now also joining together forces with his company.
And that's great. I mean, the power of the local context is important. And, that's something that we've recognized too, is we organize the advisors who are on my team around discipline. So whether it's automotive discipline or government or whatever it might be, it's around a sector of business. But we also recognize that in emerging markets, local subject matter expertise and locality mean a lot. So a few months ago, we brought some people onto my extended team to focus on that. So Will is one of them. He's actually got a very interesting presence across Southeast Asia. So Singapore, Thailand, many others. There was Roberto in Brazil. I know firsthand, one of my very first consulting engagements in my company a long time ago was in Latin America and Mexico. I remember I went to a telecom head or a telecom board in Mexico who also owned all of the higher education units, and just understanding the cultural differences in the drivers. I mean, I had to learn the hard way. The same thing in Honduras, the same thing in Argentina. So when you're trying to open a new market, you don't have the opportunity to learn those hard lessons because you usually get one opportunity to make a first impression. So it's important to have people who understand the culture, who understand the native language. I look back now and how foolish must I have been to try to speak English to people who spoke Spanish and only broken English. And I'm trying to convince them to do something. I mean, I wouldn't listen to me either now. Again, you don't know what you don't know until you learn it the hard way. So having those people in region is really important. And then as that market matures, then it's easier to kind of bring in the domain expertise once you have the regional credibility. So Sukie, let's talk about, kind of your experience a little bit and kind of what you bring to the table, right? So I think Jeroen mentioned, across Europe, and it really never ceases to surprise me that for Western Europe, which is roughly the size of Texas, if you drive across Texas, the only thing you argue about is barbecue and which flavor you like the best. But then, you drive, basically, if you were to drive from Amsterdam to where we are in Italy, I mean, how many different cultures and languages are you going through? I mean, it's a lot of history too, right? A lot of good relationships, a lot of tension and competitiveness. But the commonality always seems to be the Brits.
Obviously I'm based in Britain, and I'm working with Jeroen and the rest of our Dutch colleagues, but we have, our colleagues across Europe. You're right. I mean, Europe is a very diverse place, and different cultures, different perspectives. I think I'm quite fortunate in that I've lived in Spain, I've lived in Ireland, I've lived in the Netherlands as well. So I have experience of living and working in different, cultures and markets. So I think that's really helped me with my coaching and the type of approach I take, the language I use, knowing what kind of might work in one market, but, the same sentence might rub somebody up the wrong way in another market. And, obviously a lot of similarities as well, like, a lot of the challenges that we see, whether they're around predictability, whether they're around customer engagement, some of those challenges tend to be the same, but how we deal with those problems, we may need to take a different approach based on what we've, depending on the market and the culture.
Well, that's the secret to the work that we all do, right? It's in any organization, the problems are largely the same as are the solutions, but the path to solution is vastly different depending upon the personalities in the room. So we see a lot of different personalities and a lot of different politics and things like that. But then when you layer culture on top of it, it's hard. I mean, I'll never forget there was a previous role that I had for a multinational company. I was trying to convince different general managers from different countries to make concessions to one another. And two of the people who I was encouraging to concede to one another to make concessions, I stepped back and I realized there's absolutely nothing that I can say or do that's going to make these two people agree, because the cultural differences they won't be overcome in this meeting. Right. So I think that's something that a lot of new consultants, maybe they're not aware of, right? I think a lot of the times new people walk in, especially if they've had some success, and they think this is easy. I won. I know how to do everything. Just shut up and listen to me. And they get themselves in trouble. And, they often get walked off of engagements, and then that's a hard lesson learned. So I think that cultural awareness is something that's very important. Do either of you, I'm going to mention this, and if you don't know, that's okay. I remember I used to carry a binder, and it was full of graphs that showed the communication styles of different cultures. Do either of you know what I'm referring to?
Oh, is it Hofstede? The Hofstede culture, power, influence.
Yes. So there was an image for every culture that showed how, like, what their natural communication style was, what their preferred communication style was, and how they processed decision making. So since we're sitting in Italy right now, I remember the Italians, it was very quick to react with emotion as kind of their first reaction. And then there was a period of quiet reason followed by conversation. And then there was others that, I think it was the Japanese, for example, you'll get no reaction. It'll just be quiet. And then they might walk away from the meeting. And they might come back a day later with all of their questions and then go away for a week and then come back with an indisputable decision one way or another. And it's just quite interesting. And so, like, the Americans, from the US, were very friendly and welcoming at the start of the conversation. Then there's a point of direct friction as we debate. And then there's resolution followed by time at the bar. But the decision making is very quick. And so I used to always encourage my consultants whenever they were going somewhere new, you need to internalize this, like, read it, understand it, and apply it. Because, I mean, this research, it's going to save your deal if you understand the communication styles of who you're dealing with.
Yeah, and I think if I just compare the UK, my home country, and the Netherlands, something like a meeting. What I really do like about the Dutch is, you kind of don't beat around the bush.
You always know where you stand.
You always know where you stand. Whereas, I could be in a meeting in London, and we might spend the first 20 minutes talking about just everything other than the actual subject at hand, and then we'll get into it. So there are those little differences. I think it's quite refreshing sometimes, but then that could also be perceived as quite rude or affrontish by some people.
And that was it. I think the first time I dealt with one of our partners from Gladwell, I won't mention the name, but I remember the first time I interacted with this person, and the email was so direct, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, what did I do? And then I saw this person for the first time, and I got the biggest hug, and I said, well, what? She's like, it was just business. I answered your question. What more do you want? I'm like, well, that's pretty much all you need to know. Jeroen, what do you think?
Yeah, that's very much Dutch.
But I will say you are an international man of mystery, because every message I've received from you is warmth and follows an American communication style.
Oh, thank you. Usually I try to... I'm from Friesland, so I'm even more harsh than the normal Dutch. So whenever I write something, I go like, okay, wait a minute before sending. Just think about it. Rephrase it and then send it out. Because usually if I just write it out, then I offend everybody around me, and it's not my meaning. I'm just expressing answering your question, just like what they said to your example. And sometimes it is handy because you know where you stand immediately. But usually I have a tattoo on the front of my head. Please hit me, because if people don't know that from you, then there's an issue. But also like your comparisons with the Europeans. If we think about the Dutch and the Belgian, we speak both Dutch, so there should not be a cultural difference. But within Holland, we try to negotiate everything, talk about it, make deals. And in Belgium, they also do that, but everything is decided over dinner, and the dinner takes 2 or 3 hours, and then I, as a Dutch optimizer, think like, why am I sitting here for 3 hours? Like we could just eat a sandwich, like with cheese, like what we always do in Holland, and then continue on working. But everything is decided in that meeting for 3 hours. So I did a very nice consultancy job at a Belgian bank, and I think it took about 3 weeks, and then I got another assignment because it didn't work. So I should have thought about it.
I think we see this also in the feedback in the NPS as well, because I think it's a much harder market in the Netherlands because people are much more critical, I guess, so with the feedback scores. Whereas I think the Brits are a little bit more like the Americans in that you'll get a lot more, if people are satisfied, you'll get a 5. Hey, that was excellent. But I think some of our Dutch delegates can, the feedback is excellent, but I think the same person would probably give you a 3 rather than a 5 in the UK market or something.
If the Dutch give you a 5, then probably you did something wrong, because they're like, yeah, whatever, And if you did a really good job, then you get a 3 because you did a good job, and it can always be better. And if they give you a 5 or less, that's probably somewhere you didn't answer a question correctly, or you did something wrong. So it's wrong or right. There's nothing in between. And that's sometimes.
Well, and this is also another benefit of having a strong partner network, is you have the ability to work with somebody who understands the culture to kind of work with you, right? Who understands the communication patterns, who can kind of make sure that, you don't make a dinner mistake, right? As an American, I'm trying to get in and out of dinner as quickly as possible, but that doesn't work in Europe. Right? You have to go find somebody to get your check. Nobody's trying to throw you out. So, again, partnerships and having good advisors around the world. That's really the success to scaling of an organization internationally, right? You can learn and master your home market, even your own domain, but to really connect well with others and build the foundation of trust required for them to do business with you, you might need some help.
There's that diversity of opinion, diversity of experience, which is so important.
And also, if I would go to a French client, then they go like, why should we listen to the Dutch? And if we have a problem, do I then all the way need to go to the Netherlands? And if you have a local client that you partner with, for instance, the Etoine's company, then he just does the French market with the French culture, with the French way of working. And we do the Dutch way of working and our Dutch part of the company, and then we just share this client together. And your client is more engaged with you. There's no cultural or language problems that lost in translation, and everything works just a little bit better.
Yeah,
that's good.
And also on a practical and logistical point, if a client has offices in many markets and wants, a lot of people trained or coached, we can ramp up, we can scale up and scale down really quickly with the help of the partners. There's less travel involved for everybody as well, which means there's less overhead, less more value to the customer. So yeah, loads of benefits.
That's great, guys. Well, I've appreciated this conversation. I think we've covered a lot of important aspects around culture and partnership, which is a really good theme given where we're sitting here in Sorrento with a bunch of partners from diverse cultures at Safe Summit here. And I think next year we'll be in Amsterdam, so a little closer to home.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, I think what I've seen is I don't think it really matters where you're from. Everyone seems to like Limoncello.
Yes.
That's true. That's true. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. Any parting words? Jeroen?
Stay connected.
This has been fun. Thank you so much.
Cheers, gents. Thank you. While I'm sitting in the studio today, I thought I'd take a minute to talk to you about Safe Studio, a game-changing platform for learning and practicing safe, no matter where you are in your safe journey. Picture this, your team streamlined like never before with common self-paced learning and the right assets at the right time, all at their fingertips. Safe Studio isn't just a tool, it's a breakthrough in aligning your team's effort with your big picture goals. And we've all been there. You go to a training class and you leave with all this energy and great ideas, but you get back to your desk on Monday and you're a little bit lost about how to apply all of that great content to your context. Well, Safe Studio helps you avoid that ambiguity by providing clarity, efficiency, and most importantly, resources to help you hit the ground running in your new way of working. But Safe Studio doesn't stop there. You'll also find tools to connect to the greater Scaled Agile community. Simplified course management in the virtual classroom, access to all of our platforms like piplanning.io, Comparative Agility, and others. You'll find templates to facilitate product development activities and safe events, along with toolkits, video tutorials, and good gracious, so much more. Check out Safe Studio today and see for yourself at safe.scaledagile.com. If you like what you hear, please refer us to your friends and colleagues and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Adam Mattis. See you next time.